Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the College Football Show. I'm your host, Spinksy, and joining me today is some absolute Sportstalkline royalty. I've got Nate No Remorse Dowdy and Stephen Vanover. Nate, thank you for joining us.
Well, goddamn, Spinksy, it's a pleasure to join you.
And Stephen Vanover, the man, the myth, the legend, the Sportstalkline guru. Stephen, thank you.
You didn't tell me Nate was going to be here, dude.
I don't. Sorry, man.
You can exit left now.
Guys, look, this week I need to apologise to everyone. I sat down and I recorded a show last week with New York's finest Tom McAllister. It went for 45 minutes. They left me in charge. I recorded this whole show and I messed it up. Sorry, I messed up the whole thing. I messed up the whole thing. I'm very sorry. I recorded it and it was bad and I'm sorry and I lost it, all of it. I lost it all. So the show is gone. So this week they left someone else in charge of recording the show. So thank you.
We got an American. We got an American
to record the show for us.
You know, so we can't handle COVID, but we can record. Okay, that we can do.
This week on the show, I want to talk about the upcoming college football season, if we have a season at all. I want to talk about the new NCAA testing. I want to talk about what it means for the SEC, for the ACC, the AAC, the Big 10, the Big 12, all that stuff. I want to talk about what it means for the college kids coming out, the high school kids coming out of high school, what it means for the draft going forward. We're in very difficult times here. So let's start off with the NCAA changing their testing protocols this week. The NCAA has said we have daily self-health checks, the appropriate use of face covering, masks, and social distancing during training. I have testing 72 hours out for all sports at all, and member schools must adhere to public health standards for their local area. Whether this is enough or not, only time would tell. Nate, do you think the testing protocols are enough? Is there enough money getting pumped through schools? Are schools like Alabama and LSU having more money so they can test their guys, whereas schools like UMass who have no money, are they struggling?
Of course. I mean, there's always going to be a differential between the big name powerhouse schools with all the money and then the guys that are barely just scraping by. Honestly, I'm taking the Bill Burr approach to this whole damn thing in this country right now because, you know, I don't know what 2 weeks from now is going to produce. Right now, I feel like the college football season has absolutely just been splintered. So it's a mess. I don't know how they're going to Van.
Well, you know, in case, you know, we understand that we do have a younger contingent that watches from time to time. So I have to say, earmuffs, okay? It's total bullshit. These procedures that they're putting out, et cetera, X, Y, they look reasonable on the surface, and they would be effective and in good stead if America on the whole was not spiking. But right now, everything around them is in a turmoil. They're not in an area that none of the earlier recommendations from medical people that haven't been corrupted by the political ramifications in this country, because it's becoming a political thing on how to deal with this versus a medical thing. And that is a huge problem. So you'll see procedures that you need to follow that'll be up to date, but then somebody will want something and man, they'll change overnight. And it has nothing to do with what is good or bad medically. So this thing's going downhill. It's going downhill fast. The Pac-12 commissioner, Larry Scott, he said earlier that, you know, pessimism is rising. Is that what you want a commissioner of a major conference telling you, Spinks?
What shocked me, I think, the most was obviously the Pac-12 and the Pac-12 and the Big 10 came out and said they would do conference-only games, and that's not a surprise at all. All the Ivy League schools have said that they won't have a season at all, so I understand these schools are doing that. What surprised me the most was there is no college football commissioner. There is actually no one in charge. Obviously, I think it's Shanky. Shanky's in charge of the SEC. Shanky's your man. Shanky, obviously, the bloke who runs the SEC is obviously the bloke who runs everything. But there is no one who's actually in charge of college football overall. And that shocked me that this has happened. So we're actually still waiting to hear from the SEC, the ACC, and the Big Ten, I think. Everyone else has said they'll do conference only. And I'm the most optimistic person there is, but are we looking at a season at all, Van?
Well, the NCAA is the commissioner over everything, not per sport, just everything. Division I, Division II, they don't have one for an individual sport because they don't need one. They're God. So they can pretty much determine whatever they want. Now, if they sanction or don't sanction a game based upon requirements they have, well, then the individual schools can go ahead and play each other. There's nothing anybody could do about that, but it wouldn't be official. There wouldn't be a championship. Yeah. And let's understand what's going on right now. I'm talking to some of these SEC schools and some of their boosters. You guys have said, like, well, you know, these guys can take it. We need to get the money flowing again. Yeah. Screw you, man. This is about doing it right. Like what they did down in a certain country, I don't know, down under, okay? Where you guys did the freaking right thing. Now you're playing sports with fans in attendance. You've hit all the freaking numbers going the right way, flatten the curve, numbers going down, all except in that one province. And like, everybody knows about that. But and here in the U.S., it's going the other direction. So
on the show every week I say, just if you guys are sick, stay home. If you go out, wear a mask. It's not hard. Just wear a mask. I know it's not in your constitutional right to wear a mask. It's not this, it's not that. Just wear a mask, for God's sake. We are missing out on college football. I don't want to see a college football go ahead without fans. Nate, do you think it's better to have no fans at a game and still have a game, or are we talking no season at all?
No, I think we're talking no season right now. And if anybody needs to pump life into a sport, it's college football. College sports just don't exist without fans. I'd much rather have this played out in January or in the early spring. Football can be played any time of the year. We need this. And by the way, most Americans should be wearing masks, and not for health reasons, for visual reasons.
Me? Yeah, all right. Just all the way around. There was I think it was a Marine or something like that I saw on Twitter that had a rant that he went off, and he was just saying, hey, wear a mask. He said, I don't want to hear about it, Yeah, you've got individual rights, but it's called a dress code, okay?
Exactly.
You have to wear a shirt in a 7-Eleven, so I don't think that your tits are bigger than my mama's tits, and I have to explain it to this kid I'm babysitting. It's like, no, it's you have to do things from time to time. Get over it.
Exactly, and I just over here we wore masks, we stayed home if we were sick, we flattened the curve, and now we're back. The pubs are open, the sport's open. We're now allowing fans at games. With the rugby league's back, the AFL's back, and we've got sport back on, and it's so nice. If you guys stay home and just do it for a couple of months, it'll be fine. Nate, how do you feel? Wear a fucking mask, man. Sorry, wear a mask.
That's strike two, Spinksy.
That's two. Sorry, twice. Sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah, for a guy who never ever uses an F word, or for a good Christian boy such as myself, inappropriate. Anyway, I swear to God, you have us on or invite us on every week just to troll us in the United States. It feels like, like you just say, "Hey guys, right? We have everything back here." And it's kind of like, well, I wish I could go to a 7-Eleven with dressing like I should be in the Taliban,
So what are we looking at a season wise? Would you guys be happy for a 5, 6, 7, 8 game season, 9, 10? Like, what, if anything? I know the NFL can push ahead, but are we looking at a season at all? Obviously, the basketball can happen because you've got 5 on the court and 5 on the bench. It's 10 guys and a couple of coaches. Basketball's easy, whereas college football, you're looking at staff and players and teams, over 100. How do you quarantine 100 people all the time? Right? Have we got a season at all?
I've got an answer, but I've also got a question. I'm going to start with the question, and I'm not going to wait for an answer. I'm going to dive into my answer. First of all, the question is, what? I don't think that zebra had stripes at the beginning of the show, Nate, behind you. I'm just saying. Now, I'm going to get an explanation on this whole setup behind you later. All right. But anyhow, the answer to the question is basketball specifically, and more importantly, college basketball, I think has a unique opportunity here, and that is to change their format. If it's not safe for fans and it's not safe for a production crew, et cetera, X, Y, Z, forget it. However, if they take a March Madness approach, have a mega tournament, bring in and create a bubble effect, in a city somewhere, and then no fans, have the teams sit in the fans and do, instead of like regular games, do it like, beach basketball, man. You have the games, first 1 to 21, boom, rotate, sit down, just like they do summer league shit out here in California. Those games have crowds at them, man. It's some of the best basketball players in the world. Change the format. Keep it going. Keep it exciting. As long as you can root for your team, what do you care, right?
So I love that. I love that we're trying to do different things. I love that there are new ways out there. And maybe this is a change we need. Everyone's trying to change up the way they walk around the streets wearing masks and this and that. Maybe it's what we need as a country, as a world, to be sensible about these things. You guys are having cases after case after case rising every day. New York is horrible. LA is horrible. You guys are it's messed up. But I don't think you can have a bubble like the NBA does and keep the players safe.
64 teams, send them to wherever. Okay, Wisconsin.
That way.
Okay?
Yeah.
Let them play. And even when they lose, they have to stay there and sit in the stands because they've already taken the test. They're COVID-free. They're going to be there. They're going to be the fans. Come on, they enjoy basketball. They're going to have a good time. All right, so and they get free hot dogs. All right, you got to get that.
Wait, I'll take this. How about we have a tournament with all the COVID positive players? There's enough of these guys now where you could formulate your own all-star team. It's kind of like everyone played the game before. Assimilate your best prison team.
Here comes Mark Rio. He's out there in the iron lung right now. He's a trooper. He's in an iron lung recorder. He's still going to play.
As I've said for years, Nate, the drug Olympics. If you want to take steroids and you want to run the 100 in under 6 seconds, I want to see that. If it's like the drug Olympics, the COVID Olympics.
Let's make it political now. If we want to see how bad COVID is right now, we got to put these prospects on the field. And if someone's horking out a lung or needs an IV on the sideline for real, then it's kind of like, okay, maybe we should wear a mask now.
Now, hold on. At that point, you have to check their health insurance first. This is America. You don't just get, medical care because you need it. And I don't think you should even be tested unless the state that you're from has testing for everybody. It's like, no, you got to take your shot, man.
Yeah. So look, I've never been, as you guys know, I'm a fan of college football. I'm an LSU Tigers fan. I've never been a fan of the Fighting Irish. Notre Dame, I'm going to say it. I've always been a non-fan. If you guys were a decent team, you'd be in the SEC or the SEC. The fact that you guys want to be independent is just bad. You guys obviously get millions and millions and millions from your TV rights. I understand it. And now is the time it's going to come back to haunt you because you're an independent team and everyone else is playing non-conference, only conference games. So what happens to a team like Notre Dame now? Do they join the ACC? Do they join the AAC, the SEC? What happens to a team like that who is potentially top 10, top 15, in all of it? Do they have to join someone else, or do they just have a season where they just get out?
Okay, hold on.
Ben?
Are you suggesting – I got to ask this to Nate. Nate, are you hearing what I'm hearing? Because what I'm hearing is he's suggesting that basically the Catholic school asked the Catholic fans to tune in and watch them play with themselves. Is that what I just heard?
Nice. We're done. That's it. Thanks for joining us, folks.
How about we have Notre Dame play against the COVID guy?
Yes.
That would be.
Take it on. These athletes right now, no season, minimal season, whatever. Now you've got certain guys that are going to want to go to the NFL. Hopefully, there's going to be a season the next year after. Hopefully, America will finally get this thing under control. And at that point, this is something that you brought up, before the show in your list there. What's the status of these players? And I think it's really obvious. Players are screwed. Athletes are going to skyrocket. It's going to be like the combine never before. As long as you can go out and test well, your stock's going to go up because they're not going to have the film on you. They're not going to have the tape.
And that's also the hard thing. Like guys like the running back from LSU, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he was terrible last year. Terrible, average. The dude had a season to die for. He was so good last season. He was unbelievable. He got picked up by the Chiefs. It's those guys that are on the cusp of being awesome that they miss out on potentially an awesome season or a bad season. It's guys like Trevor Lawrence and Jalen Hurts and guys who are going to get drafted anyway who be awesome. But the guys, if there's no season or there's a 5-game season, 6-game season, they're the ones who miss out. And they're the ones who could potentially be a first-round pick who might fall to 5 or 6. Nate, how do you feel about having a half a season or no season and with your draft? It's bad.
Yeah, as a fan, I don't like it. I'd rather just kick the can down the curb and watch a full season in its entirety in the spring or in the late winter. Yeah. But I mean, going back to your point, look at Joe Burrow. I mean, if you looked at his tape after his junior year, I mean, he was on the NFL radar, but he was probably considered a very late round pick.
Absolutely.
Whereas he was able to uplift himself. And you take a look at seniors who have transferred. You look at the guy who was at Wake Forest, who just transferred to Georgia. You look at him. I mean, he was coming there to have a big season and to uplift his draft stock. So I mean, guys like that, he just went. Yeah.
So what happens now? So let's just say that there's no season at all, right? Let's say there's no season. What happens in April? Do we allow NFL rosters to grow and we have a draft of 10, 12 rounds and we allow everyone in college to be eligible? And if you don't get drafted, you're allowed to come back? Like, what happens with college roster sizes? Because obviously kids out of high school are coming up. So obviously you need to expand your roster size through college. You expand your NFL size. It's just, there's so much. If we've got no season at all, there is so much that is follow on from that. Then how do you feel? Do we need to have larger rosters? Like, what do you think?
Doesn't matter what we think. What matters is what the NFL Players Association and the owners can hammer out in an agreement. Yeah. That will detail that. Now, all of that is CBA related. What even happens with this year with the CBA? Does this count as a year of aging of the CBA, or does the CBA get extended a year? The cap percentages go up. What goes on? Because TV money is going to be adjusted. Everything's going to be changing. Lawsuits are going to be flying back and forth. Heavy negotiations. There's not direct acrimony right now between the two sides, which is good. All right, but they're going to need to come together. But so far, every sports league, NFL, MLB, NBA, as the owners have negotiated with the players on how to do things, they've tried to come out and do the political thing like, okay, we're going to negotiate how many games we're going to play this season. Oh, and by the way, in the future, I need you to take 20% less money.
Yes.
What does that have to do with that? Well, we're just going to put that rider on there, and so the owners are trying to slip in some things that are going to screw the players down the road, and that's not being well received. And each sports league has seen this happen, even the NBA, and it's weird.
As you guys were saying, I'm the most optimistic person there is. I want a season to start in 4, 5, 6 weeks. I don't care if it's a 5-game season or 6 or more. I want to see college football. I don't care if there's no fans in the stands. I want to see it. However, Nate, teams like UMass this year go to Auburn, and UMass will make 1.5 million bucks from that match. Alone. And that's enough money for UMass to pay their whole athletic department, all the trainers, all this, all that. For teams like UMass, if they start a season and play 3, 4, 5 games, and then the season ends, they are screwed. They are absolutely screwed. They've got no help at all. And you can't bail them out. So are we looking at
the schedule?
Yeah, it is.
Right? Because if they have all of those games up front, they're okay.
Yeah, but are you better off having a 4 or 5 game season or none at all? But you are UMass, Nate. How do you feel about potentially? Are we looking down the track for having lesser college teams? 130 teams now. If some teams go under, what are we talking about here? Like, are we looking at teams going under?
I wouldn't say going under, but I mean, it's obviously a giant kick in the nuts for, smaller school teams that depend on that money. I mean, every year, it's like showing up to a Mike Tyson fight. It's like you went to that fight to get knocked the fuck out.
September 12th, folks.
Yeah. The exhibition where they're not going to try to knock each other out. But anyway, going back, it's like you tuned in for that and you went to that game not thinking you were going to win. I mean, yeah, you put on your best face, but you went Peter McNeely with that thing. You got knocked out in seconds and you saw your eyeballs were about that big when you showed up. So, yes, it means a lot to those schools that they won't be able to get to play. That's why you move the season back and you get the season in its entirety, just in a different time of the year.
Well, also, it's not up to UMass, is it, Spinksy? Because UMass is the guy that is getting the largesse here. It's up to Auburn. Who does Auburn want to play in their 4 or 5 game season? That's who makes the decision, not UMass.
And look, if the SEC was I've never understood how the conferences are worked. It's not like the SEC is like the Southeast, because there are teams all over.
That's how it's not like Spinksy. That's how it's
but it's not though. So it's not like all the SEC are in the Texas area because they're not. So it'd be a different story if all the teams are actually grouped together, because maybe you've got no virus there, so they can have those games. The
Spinksy,
article I wrote.
The Dallas Cowboys are in the NFC East. Okay.
Yeah, right.
This is America, baby. This is America. It's all about this. Okay.
Is that with the Washington?
Better the Tampa Bay Buccaneauers were in the NFC North for years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I wrote an awesome article on the Sportstalkline website. So you should hop on, have a look at it, guys. It's fantastic. Explains what I think will happen with the season or no season at all. And I'm very optimistic. I want college football to happen. Sports over here in Australia have opened back up. We've got fans at games now. The first few games we had no fans at all, and they pumped fake noise into there. The Seattle Seahawks have been pumping fake noise in the games for years, and everyone thinks it's awesome. So I understand what's happening here. Pump the fake noise in. I want to see college football go ahead with no fans. Wear a mask, folks. Wear a mask. It's not hard. Just please wear a mask. Stay out there. Wear a mask. Look after your neighbors. Look after your friends. I want college football to happen. NFL is probably going to happen because it's big business, but college sports, maybe not. But I want it to go ahead. I want all of us to be out there enjoying the games and being sensible. I don't want to have to see LSU against Alabama every week, because we'll probably lose. but I understand the need to have conference-only games. The SEC hasn't come out yet and said it, but I think we're looking at conference-only with the SEC. Is conference-only enough?
Gosh, no, I don't think so, because the whole bragging rights of the SEC every year is that they're going to bring home the most amount. They're going to have the most amount of teams inside that college football playoff, or they're going to be the ones winning the national championship. Without that, I mean, you're just – is it enough?
Yeah.
God. Yes and no. For me, no, but yes to the –
it's going to be so hard.
Of the country.
I think we're sort of at the stage where I think this season, if we have conference only, there's no need to have a national champion. I think you've just got your SEC champ, your AAC champ, you've got those champs, and I think it's going to be very hard. I think personally, we're looking at the SEC split into the East and West. So maybe LSU's got 6 or 7 games, and you become the SEC West champion, and that's it, and nothing else. And so I don't necessarily want that to happen, but I think that's the best way to go about it. So I want a season to go ahead. Stephen, how do you feel?
Well, I mean, when you're talking about is it enough, I think that's a great question. And I think the answer here is, it's like you're set up to go to prom, and you're going to go with Mary Lou Helwicki, who is the hottest chick in the school, all right? And so you're all set up, and then 2 days before prom, you find out, hey, you know what? She's going with somebody else, but she set you up with her sister. And, she's nice. She's nice, don't get me wrong. But it's not Mary Lou. So, yeah, I'll go. And, if you get to second base, it's good. But it's not Mary Lou. So it's going to be weird. It's going to be weird. I think something like that is what's going to happen. They're going to restrict it because in their minds, they're going to go like, oh, well, this is safer. Okay, whatever.
Yeah. Which is hard because I want there's so much happening, and there's so many kids obviously coming out of high school and going in to the NFL, coming out of college, and there's so much that affects the draft. The draft going forward is going to be horrible, and I think a season, as much as I want a season to happen, I don't want a season to happen in spring. I think a spring season is worse because if you have a spring season, the guys who are going to go in the draft won't turn up. Your Trevor Lawrences, your Travis Etiennes, all your big names won't play in spring if your draft is in April. I can't see. So I think you are diluting your talent by having a season in spring. I'd rather no season than a spring season. Nate, I know earlier you mentioned the spring season, but would you actually like it? Like, how do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on when I say spring. I guess I'm thinking more late winter. I mean, let's say we wait 3 months from now. Who knows what the world's going to look like then? And I mean that because we're going to have an election year in the United States, so we really don't know what the world is going to look like in about 3 to 4.
Is Kanye? So Kanye's your favorite?
Yeah, I'm voting for Kanye. Like I said, you wanted the mental illness and stuff like that. To get fair representation in this country, they need a mentally ill president.
Don't you already have one now?
Yeah, kind of. I walked into that one, didn't I? But no, I mean, because what I almost would like to see happen, because you talked about different conferences having their individual champions, and why don't we play the season out, have each individual champions play each other in January? Yeah. Kind of a tournament that way. Have the winner of the Pac-12 play the winner of the SEC in a tournament, or
all go down to Arizona or something. Everyone together and do that. Yeah.
Anything's better than watching Notre Dame play with themselves.
Yeah, right. Well, that was underage children. So
I actually heard something on. It was on another network, which I won't mention, but they were talking about the group of 5 and the power 5. So moving the group of 5 to spring. So having those lesser conferences move to spring and potentially having football all year. So you move those. Have your Power 5, your SEC, your ACC, your Big 10, your Big 12, and the other one. Yeah, the other one. have them on now and move your group of 5 to spring. Have them start in late January, early Feb, and have them then, which then means you get football all year. I like that. It's a good idea because obviously the AAF folded and everything else is folded, but it's those smaller schools which I think are missing out the most. That when Alabama comes to town, they make millions of bucks, millions, absolutely millions, and that helps them all year. So I think they're the ones who miss out the most. Van, would you like to see a group of 5 during January or Feb?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's good. Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be like, I don't know, no one watches the Ivy League anyway, except for Rafael Vela, and no one cares about what he has to say.
Go Yale, go Yale.
Yeah,
go
right.
Yale.
Yeah. So all the stuff that's happened with the Ivy League, they obviously were on the front foot first. Ivy League come out and said they'll stop all games, and then the Big 10, the Pac-12 have said they'll do conference only. Everyone's still waiting to hear from the SEC. The SEC, obviously, they're obviously the ones who not run the league, but they make all the decisions and everyone listens. They've said they'll make a choice on the 31st of this month. So we're still looking at 5 or 6 days, but I think whatever choice they make will affect everyone, obviously. The NFL is still going ahead with training camp starting soon. Is that right?
Yep.
Question.
Yeah.
Spinksy, do you think, or Nate, whichever, the NFL, for the players that they're going to get next year, after not having a college football season, should they extend the rookie contracts to 5 years for everybody?
Yes. Yeah. And that will help some guys. Jonathan Taylor, who just left Wisconsin, yeah, he was – the dude runs for like 2,000 yards every year. No season, him having no season now would be awesome. The guy would have a whole year off. Guys like the running back from LSU, he would not have a good year because he's the momentum going forward. Some guys need the rest, and I understand that it's so good to have the rest.
If they expanded the practice team rosters, like doubled them for every team, I think that would really help.
Yes, yeah. And maybe add an extra international so you get more Aussies over there.
They need, if we're lacking anything in the NFL, it's more the lack of Australian punters. But anyway, it's interesting you talk about that because that was kind of the way they did it in the 90s because, well before the 90s, because all these guys had secondary jobs and they used bigger training camps as a way to get into shape because there was a lot more wear and tear on these guys, and they used training camp as a way to get into shape. So, at least doing this for maybe a year or two would be a more productive way to get these guys acclimated to the life of the NFL.
And I know this is a college show, but how does this affect a guy like Tom Brady who is 68 years old? Obviously, next year he'll be 69. How does that affect him?
Horribly.
Yeah, horribly, yeah. Look, I'm a 35-year-old man, and every year I age more, and I wake up and my back hurts, my legs hurt. The older you get, the worse I feel. So Tom Brady must feel horrible. I just don't. They definitely have to expand NFL rosters. They have to expand college rosters. Kids coming out of high school obviously can't stay in high school. They should have a draft in April, whether they have a season or not, and allow 10, 12, 15 rounds, whatever it is, and they should allow everyone to go into the draft. And if you don't get drafted, you're allowed to go back to school for 1 year. 1 year, folks. So everyone's in the draft, everyone there, all good, help yourself, You take anyone you want. But if you don't get drafted, you're allowed to go back for 1 year. This is a special circumstance. This is not going to work well for everyone. I want to see kids get drafted. I love the draft. It was so awesome. I just think that special circumstances this year, stuff needs to change.
And if you look at the way the NCAA treats I shouldn't say underage, but underclassmen who declare for the draft and who are not drafted. I mean, that's shitty that they're not able to come back to school.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. They just wipe them.
For next, for the 2020 draft, if there's no collegiate season, NFL teams should definitely reach out. I would definitely go to the Great Britain, that area, and just work the pubs. Find the best dart players you can find and put them in charge of your scouting staff.
Those big units up front.
I thought you said
freaking darts.
I didn't even hear you say dart. I thought you said originally find the best dark player you can find. I was like, that's kind of like the NFL.
So dark players matter.
Yeah, right.
Nice.
No, dark player, but it's nice to see where your head's at, Nate, okay?
All right. Guys, look, thank you very much, both of you, for joining us. Nate, tell the people where they can find you on Twitter.
You can join the millions of people on Twitter and on YouTube. First at Sportstalkline, you can find me at No Remorse Sports. On Twitter and on YouTube, I'm going to be doing some videos coming up where I'm going to be catching up on the Mike Tyson-Roy Jones Jr. fight coming up and the UFC later tonight. So check it.
For some reason, they gave Nate his own show. I've got no idea why, folks. Tune in. Check it out. It's awesome. Stephen Vanover, the man, the myth, the legend. Tell the people where they can find you.
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Stephen Vanover for president. Okay. That's right. It's a write-in vote, but I mean, hey, it's me or Kanye, okay? Me or Kanye. And at least I've got talent.
I'd vote for Kanye. I'd vote for Kanye. Kanye every day.
All
right, folks, thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us. Hop on the Sportstalkline website, check it out. Spinksy NFL. Find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, maybe, I'm not sure. Find it. All right, guys. Hooroo.